Mouth a little dry.
It is, yeah. Right, let's try that again. Hello and welcome finally to the... Oh, my God.
Goodness.
Slurp of coffee. I wasn't all ready for this.
How about some salmon?
Bitch. I took a mouthful.
This is why we do this.
This is why we do this. Exactly, yeah. Oh, I've missed this. Hello and welcome finally to another episode of the Joy Tuck Club, a podcast that celebrates the diversity and beauty of transgender identities and expressions. I'm Rachel, and I'm delighted to say, back from her transcontinental world tour of France, Cyprus, France again, Northern Europe and Australia, is my wife and co-host, the beautiful Phoebe. We're also known as Red and Freckles and are the team behind Too Damp Trans. Welcome back, and say hello, Phoebe.
Hello.
Oh my God.
It's good to be back. Also, I left and I wasn't your wife, and I came back as your wife. Were you present for that transformation?
I don't even remember that happening.
Oh, no, I know. Denmark. We'll talk about it later.
Wonderful Copenhagen.
I know. 7 months.
7 months.
At sea.
Well, it's been longer than that for the podcast.
It has.
You've been gone for 7 months, but the podcast has been gone for almost a year, I feel.
This is the first episode of Season 2. We've changed the format a little bit.
It's going to be more casual, a bit more chatty.
Yeah.
Less news.
Less news? Why did we change the news?
Mostly it was bad.
Yeah. Remember how we started out? We said we're going to focus on uplifting stories.
We're only going to do uplifting positive trans news.
There wasn't any.
There wasn't any, no.
No. The state of things. You know, even in the UK where we are, there was the election, and we thought, yay, Labour's in, things are going to change.
The red Tories, as it turns out, may actually be worse.
It's like a bait and switch. We're going to get
switch.
Yeah.
So the news is still going to make an appearance. It's just if we ever find anything positive.
Yes. Yeah. Well, if any of you listeners have a story that's positive, please share it with us.
Yeah.
We'll be glad to repeat it.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to change the format a little bit, but we'll be just as disorganised as normal. Anything else new?
We have some new equipment.
Oh, a new weapon in our podcast armoury.
Yeah, confusingly called Zoom, which podcast people will know about. It's not the...
Yeah, I call it... I've got it down in the notes as a PodTrek P4.
A P4, yeah.
We gave it a name, didn't we?
Trekkie? Poddy?
No, I can't remember what it was. It had a name.
It did have a name.
Well, we'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll be hanging on the airways waiting for us to tell you what our PodTrek is called.
Anyway, it's a fabulous little recording device that we can take on the road with us, which we totally plan to do now that we're back and together.
But more importantly, it gives me the ability to do this.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, you have assumed with great power. You know how that goes.
Any time I say anything, it's going to be met with this. Thank you. Tell a joke. But more importantly, I've also got this. I've got control of you.
Oh, no, you don't. Really?
I do, yeah. Phoebes, what do you think about that?
Best one, isn't it?
Is it, Phoebes? Is it really the best one?
Best one, isn't it?
Oh, what do you think about this podcast?
Best one, isn't it?
How was that coffee?
Best one, isn't it?
She's a bit repetitive.
That came from something that I sent you. I inadvertently recorded and somehow sent to you.
Well, the way I remember it is we were in bed one morning and Phoebe accidentally leant on her phone, and I think she's probably talking about me.
No. I'm going to have to put tape over these soundboard buttons.
Okay, enough with the soundboards.
Right.
Let's get back on script.
So I would like to take this opportunity to apologise to our listeners for it.
All three of you?
Yes, and we know exactly who you are. And we can name you. It's been quite an absence, and most of you know the story. But I thought, probably a bit of an explanation, and also because it was a curious journey in its own right, and we might as well talk about it.
Sounds good.
Misogyny around the world.
So, Phoebes, I have a question that I'm sure the listeners really want answered. Mm-hmm. Well, I know I do, because I don't know where you've been. Where have you been?
Well, you came to visit me sometimes.
I did.
So...
Should we go back to the beginning?
Well, indeed, yes.
So this, because it all started around this time last year.
Yes.
When we decided to take my daughter on a trip to Disneyland Paris.
Yes.
And it was a lovely trip, wasn't it?
It was.
Lovely few days.
Yeah.
And the problem came after that trip when we tried to come back to the UK.
Yeah. Hey, that was about 11 months ago.
I remember the date exactly. It was the 27th of October.
Right.
So it's literally almost a year ago.
Yeah. We got to Border Force, as they're well known.
Have I got a boo button on here?
Yeah, no,
not yet. We'll work on the soundboard.
Yeah. And they said I couldn't come back into the country. I'm not sure why they didn't want me. People seemed to welcome me, but they didn't. So this Australian who's lived in the US, who has alighted in the UK ostensibly as a tourist and is now clearly in a relationship. So the nature of your travel has changed.
So basically you were told that to come back into the UK you needed to obtain a visa.
Yeah.
Which at the time we're like, okay, let's just get you a visa.
Yeah.
So we secured you a hotel for the night, or for a few nights, wasn't it, at the beginning? And then
in Calais.
A wonderful little Airbnb property in the amazing northern France town of Grand Fort Philippe.
Yeah. So Grand Fort Philippe, a village with one cafe, one restaurant, a corner shop, and a decent supermarket some ways up the road, and a lot of very cold people.
How was northern France in winter?
Effing freezing.
Bracing?
Yeah. It was horrible. Also, I was stuck with. We'd gone to Paris with overnight bag.
Yeah.
I was stuck without anything.
Yeah, I remember because I had the option, because obviously as a UK citizen, they're like, I'm free to re-enter the UK, but they were going to just unceremoniously dump you outside the gates in Calais with nothing but I don't think probably at that point he didn't even have any clean underwear.
I always have spare underwear.
I re-entered France with you. We took you to a hotel and literally gave you everything that I had on me.
You did, yeah, your coat and the works.
My barber,
yeah,
is now your barber.
Yeah, that's a coat, by the way, not a hairdresser.
Yeah, and then I returned to the UK.
Yeah,
and then came back out as soon as I could, didn't I? Secured a passage back to France, bringing you some much needed supplies.
Oh yeah, and tissues. There was a lot of crying.
Yeah, there was a lot of crying in those early days.
Yeah. I didn't actually know what the future held anymore. Because we'd made a home together. But
that was the problem.
It was.
That was the problem.
Yeah.
We'd been in and out of the country many times before that, but this was the first time you actually said to the border force that we were engaged, because at this stage we were engaged.
Yeah.
And they decided that you were no longer a tourist, which is why you needed to get a visa.
And in all fairness, they were correct.
They were correct, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just...
it just didn't match our timeline.
No.
We had our plans, and being shunted through this like that wasn't part of it. Anyway, Grand Fort Philippe.
Sounds like a swinging town. What was there to do?
There was a very long concrete, not a jetty.
We kind of a jetty, didn't we?
Yeah, but it
had a couple of walks out there.
Yeah, it went for about 1.25 miles out into the ocean, into the very bracing breeze. There was across the water the petite Fort Philippe, which was much grander than Grand Fort Philippe. So we know which one got to name themselves first.
Yeah. Yeah, it had a bit more going for it, didn't it?
It did. And the Gravelina's nuclear reactor,
God, yeah.
that was a big part of the town. Woohoo!
And ducks.
Ducks.
Lots of ducks.
Oh, my
Remember
God.
the ducks?
Oh, my God. Well, this is where I discovered that a lot of the French, pardon me, enjoy a weekend or weekday or any time, it seemed, habit of duck shooting. I didn't know this. I spotted this lovely open field. Couldn't actually read the warning signs because I don't speak any French, and wandered in, and I'm just happily traipsing along, lost in my thoughts, listening to some music, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And blam, there goes a gun. I'm like, oh no. Having been in the US for about 15 years, I was pretty attuned to guns. Living in New York, you'd hear them go off in the middle of the night and go, oh God, thank God that wasn't in my direction, I think. Anyway, then there was another and another, and I start looking around and I see all these guys. I am so unobservant, as you have observed.
Yes.
There's all these guys wandering around in camouflage gear carrying weapons.
Everyone camouflage gear?
Yeah.
Easy to spot then.
Yeah. Stood out like a duck on a cold winter's day. I was like, what the duck is going on? Anyway, it turns out that there were decoy ducks on ponds, and I didn't understand what they were there for. I'd taken photos of them. They're not so much decoys, I suppose, as they're meant to fool actual ducks into landing on the pond so they can be shot.
Picture this, you're a migrating duck and you're flying over Grand Fort Philippe and, oh, look at those lakes.
Yeah.
They're obviously friendly because there's a whole family of ducks down there. I'm going to go down and have a rest.
Yeah. You obviously haven't read the reports from France about pâté and duck livers.
I don't think ducks can read French.
That's right. That's why they have the signs in French. Ducks and Australians.
Yeah, ducks and Australians get fooled quite easily.
Yeah.
Where did you stay in Grand Fort Philippe? What was that accommodation like?
Oh, that was the tiniest little cottage.
Yeah?
I think that was smaller than our place here.
It's warmer.
That was warmer. It had heaters. Yeah.
Were you there alone?
Oh, no, I had a Polish electrician.
The Polish electrician?
Yes.
Who stank of man.
Oh, so much.
Do you remember every time he came out of the bathroom?
They had this deodorant that was all man. It was kind of like if a deodorant brand was called Dick. Dick, and balls. He wore it.
It was probably something like Axe or Mace.
It was very gender affirming.
Yeah, very.
The stench was something atrocious. I was also annoyed because I was there first. I was there for 3 months, and he took over the fridge because he did, didn't his mother made him all sorts of foods in Poland, which he'd go back and pick up, and it was like a truckload of food, and he'd shove it all into the fridge, and I'd be left with the tiny little shelf space. But anyway, he was non-threatening, which was nice.
Yeah.
He didn't hit on me, which is unlike the other French men in that little village who must have been starved for blondness or something. But the constant
trans in Provence. How was that? What did the locals think about you?
There aren't many provincial trans.
No,
I don't think. I got, I think, invited to a threesome in the little cafe.
Was toi in there, or a menage a trois?
It was a couple who were. Yeah. Anyway, and I kept getting hit on, so I had to stop going to the cafe by drunk men at 11 a.m. when I was just in there for a little coffee, stepping away from the market after doing a bit of grocery shopping.
Marvellous French pastime of being drunk.
Yeah, in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
Wine and cigarettes.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds romantic, doesn't it?
It does.
If you're partial to that.
So we picked Grand Fort Philippe because it was very easy for me to come and see you.
Yes. Yes, just hop in you would
2 hours away.
2 hours away, you'd come.
I could drive down the motorway, take me half an hour to get to the tunnel, pop through the tunnel, and a half hour the other side. It's great.
You'd come blasting out of the tunnel.
It's good. So we tried to see each other as much as we could. Christmas was particularly good. That was a good time over Christmas.
It was. You managed 2 Christmases.
I did. I had Christmas here with my daughter.
Yeah.
Cooked Christmas dinner, dropped her off in the evening, packed everything into the car.
Yeah.
Drove through the tunnel, or on the train through the tunnel, and turned up at Grand Fort Philippe. Still just inside Christmas Day. Can you remember what I was wearing that day?
Yes.
Yeah. I think if you've been on our TikTok and you've seen my rendition of the night before Transmas, you'll get some idea of how I turned up dressed for Phoebe.
Fabulous.
Yeah, it was my little Christmas present
exciting.
for her.
I enjoyed unwrapping you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I enjoyed being unwrapped because it was quite warm in that little flat. Or in that little... It's not a flat, a little cottage.
Cottage. Yeah.
Cottage made it sound grander than it was.
Yeah.
There's 4 rooms.
Yeah. 4 rooms down an alley.
Yeah.
It was quite hard to find the first time. Actually, both places I stayed in France were like that. They were tucked way back.
Tucked?
They were tucked, so to speak, off the road, hidden from sight. You could.
They were tucked off the beaten track.
Yeah. Anyway, I am ashamed to say that in all my time there, my French barely improved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not.
But
you
I was also a bit of a mess.
You resisted taking the opportunity of spending 3 months in France to actually improve your language skills.
Yes. Well, every part of me didn't want to be there.
Yeah. So originally we thought 3 months would be long enough.
Yeah.
To secure the visa, but due to say complications from my side.
Yeah.
So we were originally going to pursue a fiancé visa because we were engaged. We'd got engaged.
Yeah.
July last year. So we were engaged. So we were going to try a fiancé visa, but we were advised that was a bit of a waste of money because the fiancé visa only lasts for 6 months, and we would be better off getting married. So we started looking into that, but unfortunately I was still married. So we couldn't obtain the visa or get married until I was divorced. Are you looking for the button that goes wop, wop, wop?
No. I was just checking the status of the recorder.
Yeah, so me getting divorced meant that Phoebe's exile was extended. And you could only get 3 months in Europe, not just France, in Europe.
In the EU. Oh, the Schengen region.
Schengen.
Which includes Norway, which isn't part of directly part of the EU, and some other places. We did find one eventually. I think it got down to a choice of Bulgaria, Turkey, or Cyprus.
Cyprus, yeah. I remember Bulgaria looked to be the cheapest option.
Yeah.
But probably the least fun.
Yes.
You know, I think Bulgaria would have been very much like your time in Grand Fort Philippe.
Yes.
Maybe worse, I don't know.
I remember.
But with the added disadvantage that you were further away from me and I wasn't just 2 hours away.
That's right. Yeah. So, Cyprus it was.
We picked Cyprus because we thought the sunshine might do you good. We also thought with the thriving expat community in Paphos, you might actually feel a little bit less isolated. Because I know in France, especially in the early days, you were very lonely. Like you said, there was a lot of crying.
Well, I couldn't flick a switch and turn on French either. I didn't have anyone to talk to.
No.
There. No. And there was very little English. There was as little English there as I had French.
Yeah. So you embarked on it was a 24-hour journey to get to Paphos, wasn't it? Because you left and stayed in a hotel.
Oh, it was a bus, a couple of trains, a plane, a bus. Yeah, it was a lot.
Hence the name of this episode: plans, trans, and automobiles.
That's right.
This is all about. That's going to be the episode title. This is all about our globe-trotting.
Yeah,
as it turns out.
Yeah.
Was it a bus, a train, the hotel? I know it was a very complicated journey because where you were in Grand Fort Philippe, it was not exactly on a commuter route to Paris.
No.
And you flew out of Paris's shitty little airport, didn't you?
Yes.
It wasn't Charles de Gaulle. It wasn't the grand one. I can't even remember what it was called. Bovine.
Beauvais. I mean, look, I will say that the French market was fabulous. It would arrive once a week. Never seen anything like it. It would hit the town square, and the cheeses. Oh, Jesus! Oh, the cheeses and the bread and so on. That was fabulous. But yeah, that was the highlight.
So off we went to Paphos, and I remember you being very excited to actually be able to walk around in just like a vest top rather than having to wear the barber.
Oh, I know. Down to the harbour, along there, loads of walks.
Yeah. I came out to see you. There was quite a long gap, wasn't there, between you leaving Grand Fort Philippe and then me being able to get out to see you.
5 weeks.
Yeah, I think that was the longest period at that point.
Yeah,
that we hadn't seen each other.
Yeah. Oh, then and I adopted many cats.
Well, I was going to say, yeah. I mean, you're sitting here resplendent in your headphones with your cat ears on. And you rather than find anybody in the expat community, you found lots of people
in the cat community.
In the cat community, yeah.
I did.
Not the ex-cat, the current cat community. You took in a stray. I remember one day you were like, "Oh, there's a stray cat," because there are lots of stray cats in Paphos, but they are very well cared for. People leave food out in the streets for them.
Yeah.
And you took one in, didn't you? Took one in for a bit of company.
Yeah, and then another.
No, I was thinking, well, fair enough. It might do us some good to have a companion. And before I knew it, one became 4. Yeah. Do you remember the name of the first one?
But
it was Noodle.
Oh, Noodle.
It was Little Noodle.
It was Noodle.
Yeah. Then you had Noodle, Doodle, Apple, and Strudel.
Yeah. From the Wonka.
From the Wonka film, yeah. Yeah. So I came out to see you. We had a couple of adventures out there, didn't we? Including hiking up a gorge.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
It was gorgeous. Hang on. I need to be better with this. That needs to be here next to me, so I've got access to the buttons.
Well, I mean, in all this time, those were the highlights of my journey. Whenever you'd come and would do something just wonderful. They weren't extravagant. No. They were just extraordinary.
Yeah.
We'd have these wonderful walks.
Hired a car. We drove out to the gorge. And I think we probably got there after midday.
Yeah.
Like early afternoon.
Yeah.
And we started hiking up this gorge. And there was a point, wasn't there? Do you remember? As it was starting to get dark. And we were like, well, we don't know how long this is going to take to get out of this gorge.
Yeah, there's this very rocky gorge with lots of leaps across water and so on.
That wouldn't be easy. We could turn back and know how long it would take us to get back and probably get back to the car before dark.
Yeah.
Or forge on through the gorge.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'd been going for, I think, a couple of hours by then. Yeah. So you asked me, and I said, well, let's just go forward.
And we did.
Mostly because I didn't fancy breaking an ankle on a rock going back through the gorge.
Yeah. And we were rewarded with magic hour on top of the mountain, weren't we?
We were.
With the goats.
Way up high.
Trans-coloured skies.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And then walking back into pitch black.
Yeah.
By phone light.
Yeah. Oh, it was beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous.
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, plenty of long walks. We hired scooters.
We did.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Zipping along the seafront on scooters. And that then led us to purchase our own scooters.
Yes.
But even in Paphos, you were lonely and isolated.
Yeah.
Because I think you just wanted to be here and I wanted you here, so...
Yeah. And there's lots of nightlife and everything there, but I just didn't want to be part of that. I had the same... It was worse than France in a way because I didn't feel safe walking along the streets there. I would get followed. Cars would be stopping. Yeah. Cars would be following me. Guys just winding down windows saying, hey, where are you going? Because I'm going there. I'll give you a lift. Like, it was... And I became almost a shut-in.
Yeah.
which is a shame because it's a really pretty area. But I did go for walks during the day.
Yeah, yeah. And we found a lovely place that did a lovely gyros.
Yeah.
Just down the road. That was nice.
Yeah.
It was like €7 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For gyros and frites.
Yeah.
And then there was that restaurant went just round the corner from you. Went for a pizza one night. Do you remember? Do you remember that night?
Oh, yes. Oh, I do remember that quite well.
Very comfortable seats.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So what?
And I had to get things organised for marriage and visa.
Yes.
Because I had to get my name legally changed back in Australia. So I got to meet the Australian High Commission. It was about a 2-hour bus ride away. And
She was lovely, wasn't she?
absolutely, yeah. They had a lovely big dog there too. It's nice. They said, you can come. You normally think of embassies and commissions and so on as very restricted places.
Restricted, pompous and official.
Yeah. But they said to me, look, you can just come back anytime you want. Just hang out with our dog and with us. And you're more than welcome.
So that was Paphos, and once again, you had to come back to France.
Yes. But
Did you stay 3 months in Cyprus?
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the return journey from Cyprus, I remember, was absolutely horrible. Do you remember that? I'd shut that out.
Oh, it was awful.
that was bad, wasn't it?
Well, I was all packed. I was so excited. Got to the airport early in the morning, and they said the flight's full.
Yeah.
How can the flight? I've got my ticket. I've got my reservation. I've got everything. And they said, no, you can't come on. And that was it. It was like there's
You
no
were stranded at the airport. Weren't you?
They weren't. Well, we can't reaccommodate you. And
I think it was
until something like 5 days. It was their next flight that they could get me on was
it was a
5
bank
days
holiday
away.
weekend, wasn't it? It was definitely something was going on because I remember I was trying to find any flight.
Yeah.
I was remotely in the UK searching for flights and pinging you flights to book just to get you out of Cyprus.
Yeah.
So you returned to France via Italy.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah, via a little place in Rome, not the main airport.
Yeah.
I stayed there. Was it just one night?
Just one night, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, our dwindling funds.
I know.
Yeah. Because we'd already secured your accommodation back in France, not back in Grand Philippe, in a lovely little town called Saint-Omer, which is a little bit further for me to commute to, but still doable. It's about 50 minutes from Calais, rather than half an hour.
Yeah.
I feel like you were quite happy there.
It was a much more cosmopolitan place.
Yeah, but I think also because where we were in the journey, I think by the time you came back to France, my divorce had come through. Do you remember that day?
That's right.
I think unexpectedly. I remember laying in bed one morning on the phone to you.
You rang in tears.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, something terrible has happened.
Yeah, and it was just, I'd got an email from the court saying that my divorce had been finalised.
Yeah.
And we were free to marry.
Oh.
So after that, everything seemed a lot brighter.
Yeah.
It was a long old slog for both of us, because although you were lonely and isolated abroad, I was feeling just as lonely and isolated here in the UK.
Yeah.
It was crazy, because I would go to work just for the social interaction and find, my current work, and find I didn't actually want to interact with these people, and I felt just as lonely and disconnected as probably you were feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why when you were in Paphos, we ended up racking up a £700 phone bill.
I think it was it just that much? Was it more?
No, I think it was 700 and something pounds.
Well, you used to talk to me when I'd go for walks, and we just kind of assumed.
Yeah, you didn't have a phone plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
That gave you any kind of data.
Yeah.
So you had to be on a phone call. You had a plan that gave you a phone access. And we wrongly assumed that my unlimited minutes on my mobile plan would cover the call to Cyprus. But we found out quite quickly after the first month that wasn't the case. Yeah.
But remember we did this, we started this in France. We'd go on long walks together.
Yeah.
Connected by the phone, even though we were in different areas.
Yeah.
And that was lovely. We'd describe where we are, what we're doing.
We would walk and talk
Yeah.
as if we were right next to each other. We would walk at the same time. It was very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, we continued it in Paphos, but obviously you didn't have data, so we had no access to WhatsApp, so it was a phone call from my side.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was fun. But back in France,
to
to get things sorted for what turned out to be a grand adventure. A very grand adventure. So we'd originally picked...
Gibraltar.
Gibraltar, that's right. We were going to get married in Gibraltar.
Yeah.
We're going to go and see the rock and the monkeys.
Yes.
But that was also turning out to be a bit of a headache because they needed some ID from you.
And they took longer to deliver the certified certificates that we needed than as it turned out.
So the second venue that turned out to be the best venue was Copenhagen in Denmark. Phoebe, what did you think of Copenhagen? Why are you not working? Phoebe's dead.
It was the best one, isn't it?
Oh, no, it didn't work. Phoebe's stopped working. Anyway.
It was
the best one.
It was truly wonderful.
I remember we had the date for the wedding secured, April the 9th.
Yeah.
So we were looking at flights, but it meant me flying out to Paris, meeting up with Phoebes in Paris at Charles de Gaulle. But the problem was, again, you getting to Paris wasn't easy. So then it was like direct flights to Denmark were okay for me, but you would still have to overcome this hurdle of the bus to Paris.
Yeah.
So we decided, in true Red and Freckles style, that we were going to go on a road trip.
Yeah.
That we were going to drive. It was cheaper, sounded like more fun.
Yeah.
We would have more time together.
Yeah. Drive to Denmark. Why not?
So we were going to drive to Denmark. So we should explain that we have two cars.
Yeah.
One, a nice big 7-seater.
Yeah.
Who we call Clanky.
Mm-hmm.
Because she had clank.
Mm-hmm.
After a pothole in the New Forest on one of our other adventures. And we have a Fiat 500 called Merengue.
Looks like an ice cream.
Merengue.
It's very lickable.
She's very lickable.
Yeah.
So obviously we were going to drive to Denmark in Clanky, sleep in the back because you put the seats down and it's bigger than a double bed. So yeah, that was all planned. We had our route planned. I drove out to Saint Omer. We had a couple of days there, and then we were going to head off.
Yeah.
So I came out to meet you, and we went down to Lille. Do you remember? You didn't have any shoes for the wedding.
That's right.
And we looked, and the closest place, or not the closest place, but probably the biggest, was Saint Omer. They had a nice big Primark there.
At Lille.
At Lille.
Yeah.
Sorry. So we drove down there, and on the way back from getting you your pink shoes that turned out to be crippling. So what a waste of a journey that was because you took them off. Clanky developed a rather worrying noise every time we turned left. It just rumbled. Do you remember? It sounded like something was...
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was terrible. I thought it was like the bearings were gone, but
Yeah.
it was somehow worse than that.
So then when we got back to St. Omer in the late afternoon, early evening, there was no time to get to a garage. So that left us with one day, a Friday, before we were due to leave on the Saturday to head towards Denmark.
Yeah.
Drive through 6 countries. That left us one day to try and get the car fixed. Now, I don't know if our listeners are aware how lazy the French are. I do apologise if you are listening in France, but, it would seem from our experience that you get a lot of time off.
Yeah.
So for a Friday...
Let's just say that doesn't mean that the French are lazy, just
No.
they get a lot of time off.
Like 7-hour lunch breaks. You need that time to drink a lot of wine and smoke.
You recover from the morning's drinking.
Yeah. So we had a lot of difficulty trying to, A, find somewhere that would fix the car, B, explain to them what was going on. I know a little bit of French, but I do not know the French for wheel bearing, drive shaft, and all the other sort of things we needed, because apparently the closest we got to actually finding out what was wrong with the car was someone telling us, don't drive it.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
And yet they couldn't explain to us. Even with Google Translate, we couldn't find out what it was. So we found ourselves on a Friday afternoon sitting outside a Ford garage in France, crying because, you know, this now threw our whole plans into jeopardy, because or it was going to cost us a hell of a lot of money to get flights and the logistics of getting to Paris, and it just the cost would have been astronomical. So I allowed the emotions to envelop me for a minute.
Yeah.
And then I got busy doing what I do and fixed the situation.
You did.
So I changed my Eurostar reservation, it's not the Eurostar, is it? Is it Channel? I don't know. I changed my train reservation.
Yeah.
I brought it forward to the Friday that we were currently in.
Yes.
I drove clanky back to the UK.
Yes.
Drove back very slowly in the car that was so dangerous that I shouldn't be driving it.
That's right.
Drove back to
talking to me the whole way.
Yeah, I had you on the phone.
Yeah.
There for moral support.
Yeah.
And took about an hour to have a shower, swap the cars over, and we were going to resume our planned road trip, not in a 7-seater, but in merengue. So yeah, I swapped the cars, drove back, got back early hours of Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Had a brief sleep. We loaded everything we could into the back of the Fiat.
Yeah.
And off we headed.
Yeah.
Through 6 countries. What a trip that was.
I know.
We went through... so obviously, I'd been in the UK, so for me it was 7 countries.
Yeah.
So I had UK, France, went through Belgium, had a lovely chat with the Belgian constabulary.
So I point out that we stopped on the way, right, everywhere.
Yeah.
And we had the scooters in the back. So we could, because we found it a very handy way to get around and see the sights that you want, to explore in a limited time. It was perfect.
Yeah. Had a brief chat with the constabulary in
That's right.
Brussels.
For daring to pop a peanut in your mouth or something like that.
Yeah,
it?
we were sat at traffic lights. You had a bag of peanuts.
Yeah.
And you offered me a peanut, so I took a peanut.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time we were looking for, what were we looking for, the EU building or something?
Yeah, I had my phone out. You didn't have a phone out, but you had looked at my phone, and that was it.
Yeah, so we got pulled over by the Belgian police.
Yeah, you're not meant to look at another person's phone.
Who I will say were lovely and didn't misgender us, so well done to them for that.
Yes.
Yeah, so we left Belgium quite quickly after that.
Yes.
And we wound our way up through the Netherlands.
Took a lot of fabulous photos on the way.
The Netherlands was great, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So what did we do? France, Belgium, Netherlands...
Germany, France, Germany.
And then Denmark, wasn't it? So 6 countries for me, 5 for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, stopping off along the way until we finally arrived in wonderful, wonderful Copenhagen.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest with you, it was never high up on my list of places to visit. And I was pleasantly surprised. It's
oh my
a lovely
God.
place. I would highly recommend a city break to the city of Denmark.
Yeah. I want to go back. I'd like to live there.
I would happily live in Denmark. It seemed nice. I like the culture, the bike culture. Same with the Netherlands.
Yeah.
You know, I think all of these European cities, their bike culture is great.
Yeah.
We saw it in all of them, really.
Yeah.
They have the infrastructure, and it just seems a lot better.
Yeah.
Although you did get knocked off your scooter in Denmark by a
cyclist,
overexcited cyclist.
I know. I was in my wedding dress.
Turned into So we got married in 1950s dresses and petticoats. The whole dress thing is a completely different story. I might have gone a bit mad and bought us about 5 wedding dresses until we settled on these ones. And after we got married, we spent the day in Sweden. So we zipped across
the bridge.
Yeah, we went through the tunnel over the bridge.
Yeah.
Very expensive. In hindsight, wouldn't do it again. We spent the day of our wedding in Sweden, and then we came back, and we didn't want to take our wedding dresses off, did we? So
no.
We'd been to Sweden wearing our wedding dresses.
Yeah.
And then we zipped around sightseeing in Denmark wearing our wedding dresses, and you got knocked off your scooter.
Yeah, went flying. It was great.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd fallen off that scooter a few times already, so...
Yeah, it wasn't unusual for Phoebe to fall off the scooter.
Yeah. I tend to just push it a bit far.
Best one, isn't it?
Oh, she's back. Phoebe's back. Phoebe, what did you think of Denmark?
Best one, isn't it?
Perfect. Denmark specifically? What about Copenhagen?
Best one, isn't it?
Yeah, okay.
I think our wedding venue was really special, and the officiant was...
Oh, it was just
wonderful.
Just a really nice experience.
Yeah, it was in the town hall, but oh my gosh, what a town hall! And their actual wedding room was extraordinary. It was decorated in a very old, crafted style.
It felt like a subterranean chapel.
That's a nice way to put it. Yeah,
There's no windows. I don't actually remember. Was it underground? It felt like it was.
I don't think it was. I think that was part of
down steps or up steps to get to it. But there were no windows, were there?
No.
But it was really well lit, and like you say, intricate like artwork on the walls and the ceilings, flagstones on the floor.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. But the most beautiful thing in that room was you.
Oh. Oh, honey. And we had our friends there.
Ah, yeah. Big shout out to Becky and Kev.
Yeah.
Who, as soon as we said we were getting married, originally in Gibraltar, they were like, "Oh, we're coming."
Yeah.
We're coming. And the change of venue from Gibraltar to Denmark raised a couple of eyebrows, but they came out and they got to share our day with us, which was quite special. So thank you to them.
So was that one eyebrow each?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't 4 eyebrows. It was just 2 eyebrows between them. That's why it's a few. I should have raised a couple of eyebrows.
You did. You said that. Yeah.
But I think they had a nice time. The hotel was lovely.
Mm.
And then we spent... Well, we drove back in one hit, didn't we? We'd spent a couple of days getting there. We drove back in... It took 13 hours.
Yeah, it's about 1,300 kilometres.
Yeah. Drove back.
Well, you drove.
Yes.
Yes.
And then we had probably... So straight after the high point of what was a tough time of getting married, we then had another low.
Yeah, you had to head back.
Because I had to head back.
Yeah.
And you, to get your visa, had to go back to Australia.
Yeah, for an unknown amount of time.
Yeah.
Still not knowing if they would even grant it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because to apply for a visa for the UK, you have to apply from what is your official country of residence.
Yeah.
And it's been as you are originally from Australia, but of the world, you had to go back to Australia.
Well, and I was no longer a resident of the US.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you weren't much looking forward to being on the other side of the world in what was a completely different time zone.
Yeah.
And I know, well, it was tough. It was tough for me as well. We were kind of like, so I work shift, so I was like, it's okay because we can still talk when I'm on nights, but it didn't really work out, did it?
No.
It's like the worst time zone. And I know you were dreading heading back, and in the end, it turned out okay.
Yeah,
because you got to meet your Australian wife,
Francine. She's lovely.
Yes,
I know. She's become a dear friend.
Yeah,
and I learned to play rumming cub. Thanks, Francine. And we had a really nice time. And where we were staying on the North Shore, there was lots of walks as well.
What did you think of Francine in her house?
Best one, isn't it?
She had a house. She had a pool. Remember one time you called. You had your daughter with you.
Yeah.
And I grabbed the phone. I'm swimming in the pool, and yeah, you're like, oh, you're having a good time, are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was nice to see a different side of Sydney because I'd spent quite a few years living in Sydney on and off, and it was nice to see that side of it as well.
I would have liked to have seen it with you. And originally our plan was that once your visa was granted, I was going to fly out, meet you in Sydney and fly back with you because I wanted to bring you back to the UK.
Yes.
But in the end, I just think time and money didn't really work out. So, but you were granted your visa quicker than we both thought.
Yeah.
And you came back.
Francis, not Francine.
Francis. Oh, God. Why did we think it's Francine?
I don't know. It changed somewhere.
Sorry, Francis.
Oh my gosh, Francis.
What do you think of Francis?
No.
Fun, isn't it?
Yeah, she's the best
She
one,
is,
not
she is.
Francine. That
No. I don't know who
Pretender.
Francine is.
pretender to the Australian.
No. No, she was really nice, and she took me out for dinner to her friends, and we to the library, and I don't mean dinner at the library. We went to an event at the library for women, and that was great. And I met a very, very interesting person who used to be in the publishing industry, and it was nice to be staying with someone I could talk to. That was a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she had interesting guests. A sort of changing a rotisserie of
Yeah, but
residents.
you kind of spent so long there that I think in the end it was kind of like Francis and Phoebe in like welcome you to their home.
yeah, that's right.
You
Yeah.
ended up becoming part of the furniture, and people would be coming and going short term
Yeah,
because she rented rooms.
yeah,
And but you were like a long term stay.
yeah.
So it was nice. It was nice for me to know that finally you were somewhere where you had someone to do social stuff with.
Yeah. Yeah, we went to see a terrible movie together. Anyway. And then, lo and behold, after waiting all that time, almost 7 months at that point, I got an email. And I remember I was having happy cries, but they were quite vocal. I was just like, there was so much emotion came pouring out. And I remember I was in my room at Francis's house, and I phoned you immediately, and there was a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
And when I came out of the room, Francis and her guest, Romy from France, were both looking at me like kind of aghast, like we're thinking you've had the most terrible news. It was actually the really good
It was
news.
the best news.
Yeah.
It was the best news.
Yeah.
And then you came back.
And then I came back.
Your flight was booked quite quickly.
Within a few days.
Within a few days, I met you at the airport.
Yeah.
Just chucked on some clothes.
Oh my
Nothing
God.
special.
Oh my God. I got through immigration. Thank God. It was
Oh, that was nerve-wracking.
It was.
It was nerve-wracking for me waiting at the airport.
Yeah. I was sure there was going to be secondary screening. There was going to be all sorts of things. I had my passport. Finally, a passport in my now legal name, but it had never been used before. And I went straight through the automatic gates. No problems. It was just brilliant.
Into the arms of your waiting wife.
Well, resplendent.
Resplendent in a sequined Union Jack dress.
Yes.
Holding a flag.
Yes.
I know, but I again, raising eyebrows.
Yeah.
I'd had more than one person come over and compliment my outfit, and someone even came over and they were like, "Oh, I just got back on a flight and to see you. I know you're not here for me, but thank you for welcoming me home."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw you and just went, "Oh my God," and broke into a run.
And now you're back.
Now I'm back.
Yeah. It's been good. It was quite the ride, wasn't it?
Well, the thing is, it was horrible. All the uncertainty, but this is something that millions of people go through when they're changing countries. It's not an easy process. There's a kind of presumption of guilt, and instead of innocence in this process, you must have done something wrong. We're going to find out what it is.
Yeah.
If we can't find anything, then in you can come. But on a sort of probationary arrangement. Make sure you don't do anything wrong whilst you're here, which annoys me because I want to participate more in protests for transgender rights and so on, especially with what's happening in this country. And I simply dare not.
Yeah.
I can't risk being arrested for any reason whatsoever.
But in 5 years' time, watch out, government. Phoebe's coming.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And we kind of citizen of one of the most transphobic countries in the world now.
Yeah. I can't believe you fought so hard to become one.
I know. We were interviewing someone just last night for our book, How to Transition.
Oh, we'll get onto that in a minute.
They were saying that they'd also moved from the US to the UK and started transitioning here and saying, "Oh, woe betide. I'm suddenly in this. I chose the worst country." But it's such a lovely country for all sorts of other reasons, including that you're here. And that your daughter's here. And
I was going to push the button. You changed it, made it nice.
Of course it's nice. Why else would I be here?
Because it was going to be because you're here.
Oh.
But then you were like, "You're here and your daughter's here." And I was like, "Oh, I can't push it."
Yes, moving from somewhere where it was a simple case of informed consent in Connecticut, and still quite a number of other US states, even though it's atrocious elsewhere, to a place where I don't even have any hope of getting into the medical system for HRT at all, just none.
No. Well, I've given up hope of getting into the system.
Yeah. Yeah. So I DIY, which costs pennies. So... because I also homebrew. But we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that at the later episode.
Yeah.
Or you can check out all of the details on that in our upcoming book.
Indeed.
How to Transition.
Oh, now the book promo.
You
had it ready?
Nice.
Nice.
Wasn't it?
Yes.
So what else has been going on? We've been writing a book. Finally.
Yes.
We'd been planning it before you left.
Yes.
Before you were ejected.
Yes.
And now that you're back, we've really made a lot of progress on that. So we're writing a book. We have a website.
Yeah.
redandfreckles.com. Yeah, and you can find out everything about us and what we're doing on there.
Yeah.
And I think we've whittled on long enough about where we've been and what's happened.
We have.
There's something else I wanted to talk about, mainly because a lot of people have been asking me about it, and I don't know why. They've been specifically asking me about the Netflix documentary, Will and Harper.
Yes. Why have they been asking you?
I don't know.
I know.
I don't know.
Oh, because they're like, oh, we saw a movie that had a trans person in it, so we've had all of our trans questions answered at last. Oh, you're a trans person that I've known for 20 years, but let me...
Oh, no, I thought it's because Will Ferrell's funny and I'm funny.
You're funnier than Will Ferrell.
Is that why they're asking me? Anyway, so I read an article the other day, and it said Will and Harper is the film the trans community needs right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Needs?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about that? What did first of all, we watched it together the other night.
Uh-huh.
What did you think about it?
Okay, I appreciate that anything positive about trans people is a good thing, and it's needed. It clearly wasn't the purpose of this movie. I think the producers or director or whoever felt the need to shoehorn in as much Ferrell being funny as they could, but it turns out he's not naturally that funny.
No.
And he says in the movie that he needs a script. He's not an ad-lib person.
Yeah.
He really, really isn't.
No.
And sometimes that made it even harder for Harper.
Yeah.
And
we all looked suitably uncomfortable throughout the whole thing, I felt.
yes,
But I don't know if that's just how he is when he's unscripted. He's naturally just uncomfortable unless he's actually got a script to fall back on.
yes,
Spoiler alert, we'll tell you right now because we are going to talk about some details of it.
true.
I'll just say that my opinion of it was I do agree. The film that the trans community needs right now, well, anything, like you said, anything is positive is good. So yes, in that respect, it was something we needed. I feel it stopped short, very, very short of being the film that we need right now. In it, a couple of things were highlighted, which I welcomed.
Including the instant online transphobia.
Yeah, so like the misgendering of Harper by a waitress.
Yeah.
The online hate towards transgender people.
Yeah.
But there was a couple of bits in it that I felt they're basically bad for allyship.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's the wrong message.
yeah, so Will gets to ask Harper. It's like, I need to ask you a question, and I said to you straight away.
Yeah, you know what the
I
question
said, I
is.
know what this question is.
Yeah.
It's about, what are you going to do surgically? What are you going to keep in your pants? And
Yeah. Why do they all want to know that? Why does everyone...
I don't know. It's weird that people want to talk about your genitals. And just for everyone out there and everyone who wants to be an ally, it's not okay to ask that question.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
No.
And Harper felt like she was being protected by having Will Ferrell with her. So the whole premise of the film was that they were going to go on a road trip to sort of rediscover what their friendship was.
Yeah.
Now that Harper had transitioned to female. But also Harper was visiting places that she would like to, or had previously visited on her own, to see whether she could still do that as a trans woman rather than a cis male that she presented as before. And she felt that having Will with her was giving her an element of protection. But I would say it was actually the opposite of that. I think rocking up with Will Ferrell is going to bring you a lot more attention.
Mm-hmm.
And also something that Will Ferrell did, I don't know whether it was probably with Harper's permission, but I still feel it was wrong, is he outed her to 20,000 people at a live basketball game.
Yes. He kept introducing her as my recently transitioned friend.
Yeah. And again, allies, you don't get to do that.
Yeah.
Don't ever out one of your trans friends to anyone without their permission.
No.
Or just don't do it. It's the easiest way to do it.
No.
So yeah, I have issues with it. On the whole, I think probably it is a good introduction to people that have no clue about what it's like to be trans. It's like a nice little soft entry into that world.
Yes. Yes, it was an insight, a glimpse.
Yeah.
But it was also, it felt like, I don't know, another feral vehicle in some ways. And I can see why they felt the need to do that, but it also detracted from it. I wish that there would be more documentaries about trans people, about our lives. But perhaps they obviously wouldn't get as much viewership. So it's the good with the bad.
The thing is, right, I think if you did a documentary about our lives, if a camera followed us around,
Yeah.
you would see that on a day-to-day basis in the normal world,
Yeah.
it's just a normal, boring life,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Only really online and in certain situations that you actually get the transphobia.
Yeah.
And this is what we spoke about with the guy we were talking to last night, with Dan. That I think we're lucky in that we pass, and if you pass, you get left alone.
Yeah. Yeah, the only issue is our voices, but...
Yeah. Fuck 'em. This is my voice.
Proud to be trans.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
So yeah, that was just our little opinion on Will and Harper. But you should definitely check it out. And hopefully by the next episode, there's another film we want to check out that is made by a trans director, and that's I Saw the TV Glow.
Yes.
We've got that one on our list to watch.
Yeah.
If we can put down our controllers and stop playing Minecraft for long enough, we'll get around to watching that. Tell me what we think about that.
Transcraft.
Maybe this should be a thing. Maybe we should review some trans content each week to replace the...
Why not?
Replace the crappy news.
Right.
We're talking about some trans content.
Well, I've got a great book to talk about as well.
We've got a great book to talk about.
Not our book.
Ah.
Our book's a great book.
Yeah.
It's coming along nicely.
I'm currently nearing the end of the excellent memoir by our Phoebe's dear friend and friend of the podcast.
Yeah.
Oliver.
Yeah. Oliver Redcliffe.
His memoir is out, and he's just smashing it out in the States at the moment.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And the book
such a powerful voice.
Is brilliant. I love it.
Yeah.
I loved Oliver's first little book.
Yep.
Adult Human Male.
Yep.
I just love the writing. I have a hardback copy of the book, and I'm also listening
Frighten the Horses.
Frighten the Horses. Yeah, I have a hardback copy of the book, Frighten the Horses, and I'm also listening to it on Audible because I love listening to Oliver. I loved listening to him in our interview.
Yeah.
But to hear the story actually straight from the horse's mouth.
Oh my lord!
Hey, you like that one?
Yeah.
It's good. I think it adds another dimension to it. And I was telling you because you haven't read it yet. Because I don't know why you haven't read it.
I just haven't yet.
You just haven't. You've got other titles on the go at the moment.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's on your reading list. But I was telling you, there's a lot in there that makes me uncomfortable because it forces memories to resurface from my own transition story.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting for me to see the similarities that a trans mask has gone through, but also the differences. Coming at the same problem from a different angle.
Yeah.
It's a great book. If you're trans, read it. If you're not trans, read it. I can't endorse it enough.
Yeah. That's one of the things about engaging with the community is that you realise that as unique as your story feels to yourself and that we've all gone through, many of us have gone through similar things.
Yeah. And
we come out the other side stronger, better, and hopefully without too many regrets.
No regrets.
No regrets. I don't have any.
No regrets, just losses.
Yes.
Who said that?
Oliver.
I know. Okay, so I think we've been whittling on for long enough.
Oh, yes.
So just one thing we need to mention quickly, just along the lines of like the book and everything, is we have a thing coming up on the 26th of November in London.
Yes.
It's the Facial Team's second Gender Affirming Health Forum.
Yes.
And we're giving a talk.
We are. Facial Team is also supporting our book, which is lovely. They're one of the sponsors, and that was really quite special. So thank you, Facial Team.
Yes, thank you, Facial Team. And we will be giving a talk at the second Gender Affirming Health Forum. And our talk is entitled... Do you want to give away the name of the talk?
No, you go ahead.
It's called Trans Labyrinth.
Yes. It's not about the book.
There'll be a little bit of book in there, but
yeah,
it's not about the book.
Yeah. Anyway,
so should we wrap this up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, thank you so much, listeners, for tuning in and being part of our community. If you want to connect with us further, please visit us at the website we mentioned earlier, redandfreckles.com, where you can get updated on all things that we're doing.
You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Does anyone even use Blue Sky?
Hopefully, I don't know.
All of our socials are at 2damptrans, and we're on Facebook as well. And you can DM us on any of those platforms if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to discuss.
And don't forget to subscribe and rate us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, as well as wherever you listen to podcasts. We're on all the popular platforms now.
And even some of the unpopular ones too.
We appreciate your feedback and your support.
So until next time, remember you are valid.
You are beautiful.
And you are transcending
Boundaries.